Hey, so I hope you're ready for the 2019 Louisiana Long Term Medicaid updates. I'm Paul Rabelais. I'm an estate planning attorney. I work out of our South Louisiana offices, Baton Rouge, Mandeville, Metairie, Lafayette, but really have grown to help people all over this great state that we have, represented by our state capital that you see over my left shoulder. What I want to do on this video is give you the number changes, and then take a more in-depth look at how those changes affect people as they get older and need long-term care, and hope to protect what they have and pass it along to perhaps their children one day. All right, so let's take a quick look at the number changes, what stayed the same, what different. I'm going to define these terms and I'm going to throw at you real fast later in the video. But first, let's talk about the countable resource limits. Single person, when an unmarried person goes into a nursing home and they apply for Medicaid, if they have more than $2,000 of what's called countable resources, they won't qualify for Medicaid. They'll have to cover 100% of their long-term care expenses out of their own pocket. So the 2,000 number didn't change from 2018 to 2019. Married couple, if they both enter the nursing home at the same time, again, that nursing home expense might be $5,000 or $6,000 per spouse. And if they have more than $3,000 of countable resources, they'll have to pay 100% of that cost out of their own pocket until they get below that $3,000 threshold. What is a countable resource, you say? We'll get to it later, but in general, people have exempt assets, which are generally the home and the car, and then other things that they own are countable resources. Common countable resources are things like your bank accounts, your checking account, your savings account, your CDs, other investments that you may have, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, retirement accounts. Many people have traditional and Roth IRAs. Some people own real estate that's not their home. Some people co-own real estate with others. Some people own interests in a business. All those things are countable resources that you're penalized if you have more than that minimum threshold. Here's where some numbers have changed. There's something called the Spousal Resource Standard. The idea is if there's a married couple and one spouse goes into the nursing home, that spouse is called the institutionalized spouse because they're in an institution, and the other spouse is still living at home or living in the community. That spouse is called the community spouse. It doesn't have anything to do with community property. Then different set of numbers applies there. The rationale, the one who's still living in the community needs some assets to live off of, so they look at the combined assets of that married couple. 123 was for 2018, the limit was $123,600. That number has been bumped up, as it is every year, to $126,420. Let me give you I'll give you an example later on. The other two more numbers that have changed is the home equity limit. We talked in general briefly that the home is an exempt asset. However, it's not necessarily exempt if it is worth too much. And the home equity limit went up from $572,000 in 2018 to $585,000 in 2019. You'd think not too many people applying for Medicaid would have a home worth more than $585,000. But these days property values going up. Not uncommon to see a Medicaid applicant have a home in excess of that value. Then the other important change that took effect during 2018 was Louisiana's determination of the average monthly private pay rate for nursing facility services went up from $4,000, where it was for about 10 years, on March 1st of 2018, and went up to $5,000. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, there's your numbers. Now let's take a look at the practical analysis of those numbers. So going back up to the countable resource limit, let's give you an example. Let's say mom, maybe dad died years ago, or mom was divorced and is just mom, and she has a home, she has a car, and she has $100,000 in the bank. She falls, she has a stroke, dementia sets in, they can't keep her at home anymore, she's got to go into a nursing home. Somebody says, uh-oh, mom's got $100,000 in the bank, I hear that's too much, she can only have $2,000. So if under those circumstances, if mom applies for Medicaid, she's going to get denied because she has resources in excess of the $2,000 countable resource limit. Maybe mom, son, and daughter scheme and say, I tell you what, I think we can beat the system. Let's take that $100,000 out of mom's bank account and let's drop it in maybe $50,000 apiece in son and daughter's bank accounts. And then mom applies for Medicaid. She'll have less than $2,000. That doesn't work. When mom applies for Medicaid, there's a fairly thorough Medicaid application which asks many questions about mom's assets, mom's income, what mom has done with her assets in previous years. And then, of course, Medicaid has all of the rights to look at the banking records and the property records and verify all of the answers that an applicant makes on a Medicaid application. One of those questions, has mom transferred any assets out of her name in the last 5 years? Yeah, she transferred $100,000. That's going to make her ineligible for Medicaid for a period of time over which we're going to talk about in a minute. So same thing with the $3,000. Married couple goes in a nursing home together. They have more than $3,000. The nursing homes, every home is a little bit different, but maybe a nursing home stay in Louisiana these days is roughly $5,000 or $6,000, maybe more. So if you have a married couple, they're likely to have to incur a $10,000, $12,000, $14,000, $16,000 monthly expense. They won't get any help from anyone. They'll have to spend all of their countable resources down until they have less than $3,000 before getting any help from Louisiana's Long Term Care Medicaid program. So, and then there's, again, the Spousal Resource Standard I mentioned earlier. The rationale, the one who's still at home's got to have something to live off of. So that Spousal Resource Standard is $126,420. Some people think that if the spouse who is at home has separate property, that's somehow protected. It's not. So, Medicaid looks at the combined resources of both spouses. Okay, the one I really wanted to get to was this average monthly private pay rate for nursing facility services, because finally they bumped it up from $4,000 to $5,000. Helps a little bit. Let me go back to the first example where mom transferred $100,000 out of her name, and because she had made that transfer within the previous 5 years, mom is going to be ineligible for the Medicaid benefits for how long? Well, if that was all took place in 2017, mom would have been ineligible for Medicaid for 25 months from the time that she applied for Medicaid, was in the nursing home, she got denied because she had made the transfer. 25 months because Medicaid in 2017 would have divided the value of the amount transferred, $100,000, and they would have divided that by what at the time was the average monthly private pay rate for nursing facility services as determined by Louisiana, $4,000. You divide $100,000 by 4,000, comes to 25. Mom's ineligible for Medicaid for 25 months. Well, March 1st, 2018, they increased mouthful average monthly private pay rate for nursing facility services from $4,000 to $5,000. So if all of that took place after March 1st of 2018, then mom's penalty period would have been 20 months. $100,000 transferred, $5,000 Louisiana's average rate, 20-month penalty period, a lesser penalty period based on the increased average monthly private pay rate. So those are your kind of basic rules on what has changed. What I want to really be clear about in this video is a few things. This is just what numbers have changed video. What this video is not is what are some of the strategies that the Medicaid rules permit and people take advantage of to protect their home, their savings, protect what they have for themselves and ultimately for their loved ones, whether they're doing what's called crisis planning. Mom had a stroke, dad has dementia, mom fell, and they didn't think they were going to go into the nursing home so quickly, but something happened and now it's kind of an emergency. This video doesn't address any of those planning strategies, whether it's a planning strategy that has to take place at the last minute or whether it's a planning strategy where it's easier to protect what you have if you plan ahead, years in advance of going into a nursing home. So we didn't discuss any of that. Those are topics for other videos. In this video, there was no in-depth discussion about what is a countable resource and what is an exempt asset. So that's a whole nother discussion. And what this video is not is it doesn't give you the correct numbers that apply in all 50 states. I help people and I work out of our offices in Louisiana, so I gave you the Louisiana numbers. Medicaid is a joint federal and state program. The federal government makes the Medicaid rules and then allows the states to administer their programs as long as they comply with the federal rules. So every state administers their Medicaid program a little bit differently. So if you live in a state outside of Louisiana, make sure you get the right information that's appropriate for your state. So there's a quick overview. Before I take the Christmas tree down in our office, I wanted to fill you in on what some of the 2019 changes are. Look forward to making some other videos which may be even more important to you that discuss the particulars of the rules and what you can do to maintain an element of control of what you have, but still structure it so that you have availability to qualify for Medicaid benefits and protect what you have and do it in a tax-advantaged way as well. So look forward to sharing lots of that information throughout 2019 with our YouTube audience here. A couple of things real important. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to our YouTube channel so that YouTube will keep you informed of other updates that we provide. If you felt like this provided you with some value, hit the old thumbs up, like button. And then if you have some experience with this topic that you can share because others will see it and read it and can benefit from it as well. That's all we're trying to do, is help as many people as we can. Make sure you comment in the comment section below. I'm Paul Rabelais. Y'all have a great 2019. Happy New Year. See you around.